Start streaming. Ready in 3, 2, 1. We are live.
Good evening. This is a meeting of the Franklin School Board. We're at the Franklin High School cafeteria. The date is June 14th, 2021. I call this meeting to order at 6:02. I read the following. Community members may attend the meeting in person or email the superintendent questions or comments prior to the meeting at dlegalo@gm.sau18.org. Please include your name with the email. All questions and comments will be read into the minute. During the meeting, the public may participate by calling the superintendent's phone number at 266-9833 if you prefer not to attend. The public may also review the meeting on our YouTube channel. Also, per the governor's order lifting the state of emergency, effective on June 11th, all school boards are now required to meet in person. Okay, if we can all stand for the salute of the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kathy, was this meeting for the Franklin School Board meeting posted as is required? Thank you. For public input, I just want everybody to know that the following school board members are present at the Franklin High School cafeteria: Cecile Cormier, Maureen Obie, Delaney Carrier, myself, and on Zoom is Christy Martin. That does make a quorum of the Franklin School Board. Agenda item 2 is recognitions. Do we have any recognitions this evening to be brought before the school board? Principal Charette.
I just wanted to recognize Officer Tracy and Comfort Dog Miller for helping deliver the scholarships again this year. It was a large success. She did 3 days worth of deliveries.
Outstanding. Thank you. There was a lot of, I will tell you, there was a lot of positive feedback and a lot of happy people. I commented and thanked and congratulated the winners of the scholarships, but there was a lot of positive feedback with Officer Tracy, and of course, Miller's popular with everybody. So thank you, Kerry.
If I could, I'd like to recognize Joyce Barker. Did an amazing job at organizing our grade 8 celebration, and she did all of the details, and she organized the people and did all the prizes and all that, and also she did quite a bit to get our parade together. So I want to recognize Joyce Barker. So thank you, Joyce.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you to Joyce also for the work that she continues to do for you at the middle school. Are there any other recognitions to be brought forward this evening? Seeing none, I will close that portion of my meeting. The next is public participation. During public participation, I give anybody who wants to address the school board, you may address the school board with any subject or topic that you wish to. I only give 3 minutes per person and no more than 30 minutes to this portion of my meeting. I do have a second public participation at the end of my meeting in case that people will want to continue or want to talk to the board further. There is a second public participation. Looking this evening, I have nobody at the Franklin High School cafeteria for public participation. I do not have anybody online or on Zoom. Superintendent Legallo is checking now his emails. There are no emails that have been sent to Superintendent Legallo, so I will close this portion of my agenda of public participation. The next is agenda item 4. This is public input for ESSER 3 federal funds. Superintendent, do you want to just speak a little bit on what the ESSER funds are?
Yes, ESSER 3 funds is the latest stimulus, well, I shouldn't say stimulus, the latest package from the federal government to help schools with COVID relief. The funds are good for the next 3 years through September of 2024. Franklin's looking at approximately $5.9 million to expend over the next 3 years. One of the requirements is that we solicit public input, community input, and staff input. So we've been doing that. Putting it on the agenda tonight is one of the ways to solicit input. We've also sent our reopening plan for the fall home and have been receiving input from both staff and from families. I've also asked the city manager, and she has sent the plan out to the community to see if we can get community input as well. So we are dotting the i's and crossing the t's with all the federal requirements to meet the needs so that we can expend these funds over the next 3 years.
So there's nobody from the public, but as board members, you are all citizens of Franklin, you are the public, so if anybody on the board would like to speak on this, you are allowed to. Because you are, just because you're board members, you're still citizens of Franklin. So does anybody on the board that would like to speak on this?
Is this the list that you're talking about spending money on?
No, that is a presentation we're gonna do
Okay.
in a few minutes to talk about some possibilities with the HVAC and windows. So that's a possibility, Cecile, but also we've talked about all the new hires for the next school year, and some of that is part of it as well.
Okay, so the SO3 is, we're deciding how to spend it
Not tonight. Tonight, we're just giving input.
on what we
We-
would like.
Yes.
Exactly.
A little slow tonight. I can think of it.
Okay, and we'll have more discussions on this as a board, Cecile.
Okay.
But I just, if someone may have, if you may have had something that you had an interest in, I mean, I just want you to be able to speak up and, you know, it's, input from everybody is important on how we want to spend this and what is best for our children. Okay? All right, I'm gonna close that portion of my meeting, agenda item 4, but I also just want to put out there that on Monday, June 7th, I believe it was the city council meeting, and the city council did approve our Sr2 funding that the board had approved a while back. That's just one of the requirements of the funding. That one was just over 2.6 million, if I remember right, Dan?
Yep.
Just over 2.6 million. There was a couple of questions that both Dan and Jefferson were able to answer, and it passed unanimously, so those funds have been approved by the council now, so, and again, that 2.6 is good for the next 3 years. Okay, so overall, right now, we're looking at about 9 million?
Just under 9
Just under 9 million in federal funding that has come through the federal government for us, but these funds are gonna be used over the next 3 years, so, you know, obviously, Jefferson and Dan are doing their due diligence to make sure we keep enough money so we can continue and fund things as they come up over the next 3 years, okay? But I just wanted to let everybody know that our Sr2 money has been approved and is appropriated now for us through the Franklin School District. All right, Delaney, go ahead.
What's the estimated timeline for that process for Sr3, the approval?
So the plan that you're going to look at tonight is due to the DOE on June 23rd. And then we have another plan that's due at the end of August. We actually have about 30 days to start submitting, I guess you would say, anticipated budget items to the DOE regarding the funding. Nothing specific, because obviously that's not a lot of time to do that. So we are rolling down that train track, I guess is the way to say it, Delaney. So it's hot and heavy, June 23rd on, basically, you know.
Close that portion. We're now gonna go on to agenda item 6. This is our HVAC in window presentation by our energy efficient investment company, Mike Davey, who's out back. Mike, you wanna come right up front now? Sure. You're gonna be on the camera. For those new board members, Mike has worked with our school for, 3, maybe 4 years, Mike? Yep. Give or take. Mike, Energy Efficient Investments is the one who did our energy audit. When we turned over to more energy efficient lighting in our schools and heating systems in our schools and different things. Mike worked with us throughout this whole process, and Mike actually, when doing this process, actually guaranteed the school district, and so far it's worked. I believe it was a $76,000 a year, Mike, savings.
Yes.
That our school district was going to have. So with our new ESSER money, some of the things that we can look at is our HVAC system, which are
That's perfect.
failing, some of them are very, extremely old. These HVAC systems are extremely old in our schools, obviously, the oldest ones being here at the high school, okay? And also, one of the things that we looked at was windows, and Mike will get more into it, but we looked at the windows on the third floor because we're losing a lot of energy out those windows, okay? Those windows have been there for as long as I can remember. I think probably when the school was built, Carrie? Windows on the third floor have probably been there since the school was built?
Yes, that.
Yes, in the front of the school. But Mike took a look at them, so this is why he's here tonight, to kind of give us a description and understanding on how things can work. Is there anything else on that, Dan?
That's it.
Okay. Mike, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. So, a lot of familiar faces, but maybe a few new board members that weren't here the last time. We started a process, which I think was 2018, when we started doing an energy audit of the facility. So, we did a project in 2018, which was new HVAC controls, new boilers in all three schools, as well as LED lighting, so the lights that are above us today, which luckily are all working in this room as I'm presenting about it. We put in all these LED lightings. I will tell you, there was such energy savings from when we did our project that the power company actually called the school in in September 2019 and said, "What are you guys doing? Did you close and go?" This is pre-COVID, because the power bills came down so much as a result of this project. Prior to that, we were able to get that money in working with the city, the school district, Franklin Savings Bank to secure funding. And one of the reasons that the city council approved the funding was because there was a guaranteed reduction in the energy budget, so that allowed us to do a comprehensive project. Prior to that, we had actually met with the previous superintendent and business manager, and it was always a struggle to get capital projects done in Franklin with some of the constraints on the budget. So using the energy savings to help pay for it really helped us secure that money from the city. With that being said, although that we did a very meaningful project and got some good press from it from the power company, what we weren't able to do is take care of all the needs that we had seen throughout the school. It just, there wasn't enough funding. And so we had been in conversation, one of the allowable uses with ESSER, which is the federal funding, is improvements on air quality. And the ventilation systems at the middle school were installed in the mid-90s. The expected life of that equipment is 20 years. So by 2015, it was sort of at the end of its estimated life. It's still running. It's not like it's completely dead. It's just at the point where you should really start thinking about how are we going to replace this equipment. At Smith, it's actually older. The ventilation equipment is actually about 10 years older, with the exception of the new addition, which has a relatively new unit. I forget what year that addition was done.
That was done around 2000.
2000. And then the ventilation units here at the high school, they range. Some of the units were put in about that same time as part of what they called the rejuvenation project that was in the early 2000s. That being said, even the ones that were put in 2000 are starting to get near the 20-year period where you start planning for replacement. And one of the things that we talked about when we did this project in 2018 is you have a lot of 20-year-old equipment that's coming near the end of replacement at all three schools. And so we had obviously had no idea there'd ever be federal fund, but one of the things we suggested two paths for Franklin. One was to plan a bond vote at some year in, I don't know, some year between 2020 and 2025, and just do wholesale replacements. The other idea would be to take the average cost of a unit and put that in the budget as a replacement, and every year replace one unit, or something like that. But just some idea of how to deal with these things. So then the ESSER funds came around, and ventilation is one of the allowable expenditures. The delegation and the state and federal Department of Eds are trying to figure out exactly how that money can be spent, because there's a lot in the Union Leader on Sunday. There was an article about a project we're doing in Somersworth where they want to do the project this summer, but the amount of hoops you have to jump through to get this federal money is a fairly major process. So prior to just spending the money on a construction project, they want to make you jump through every federal hoop, which includes having an architect review the building for historical items, submitting that report to the state, doing an ADA survey for handicap accessibility, doing a environmental impact statement. So that's something like if you're going to build a new highway, you'd want to say, are there any salamanders that cross here or whatever. So there's all these rules that unfortunately the federal government took when they passed that bill, and they applied it to this emergency ventilation money. And so we've been working with Somersworth to try and jump through all these hoops to do the project this summer. And it actually takes about 6 months to get through all those hoops. So there's two reasons for me being before you tonight. One is just when thinking about ESSER and how to allocate it between student achievement and then improving the air quality in the buildings, we wanted to give you some order of magnitude budgets. These aren't hard bid numbers. They're just budgetary costs to say, what would it cost to do some of the things you may want to do, so that you can plug it, if you choose, into the ESSER budget planning. The other is, if you do want to use some of your ESSER 3 money on facilities, it's about a 6-month process. So we actually have to start now to do with projects next summer or in the relatively near future. So those are the two kind of reasons for us being here. Because this wouldn't be projects that would likely be done this summer, but for the following summer, summer of 2022. And so this list, again, it's not final pricing. It's just order of magnitude. And then once the board decides, hey, these are things we would like to explore with federal funds or other funds, then we would go through, refine it, and come back to you with a more detailed scope and more refined. But I'll just quickly go through the items and explain them. And is there anybody, I have a few extra copies of this blue sheet. Does anybody else want a copy of that? No, who would? No. Okay, and it's on the board. So the first item are boilers. So at the high school, there are 2 boilers. As part of the first energy project, we replaced the main boiler, but the backup unit is 30 years old. So it still works, but we just put that in as one item as $240,000. Replacing the gym ventilation unit at the high school, it would be $230,000 to replace it in kind, meaning put in the same type of unit that's there, that's 20 years old, with a new one. Or option 2B is to do that same area, but to add dehumidification. Some of our schools, like Somersworth and Jaffrey Ringe and Manchester is talking about, but hasn't officially voted on, is to, rather than just replace in kind with units that just purely do ventilation, put in a unit that will do dehumidification as well. The idea is that's better for the indoor environment, certainly in the summer in school, in the days like today in schools, but it also is better for air quality in people with breathing disorders. Then there are number 3A and 3B. Those are the 5 oldest air handlers. They're made by a company called Deschamps. I don't know if there's any French people here, if I'm pronouncing that right. But we can replace them in kind, again, with units that are just doing ventilation for about $1,080,000, or we can replace them with the dehumidification for 1.7. And so that would have, those are mostly doing classroom units. And then the last, there are some train air handlers. Those units have no, what we call energy recovery features. There are several of those throughout the school that do offices and other spaces, like classrooms. And we could replace those and get an additional energy benefit for about $875,000. Then we talked about doing a window upgrade up on the 3rd floor for $470,000. I actually think this is a high number. What I don't know is if the windows have asbestos and PCB caulking. So in this $475,000, I've included $100,000 of abatement. So if we do testing and that's not required, that would come down by $100,000. That type of testing is probably $5,000 or less, but that would be one thing we would do. And then electric upgrade. So if we'd say, hey, we really want dehumidification all over the school, what it may do is, that's obviously an electric usage. It may exceed the capacity of the school, and that may require us to put in a new electric sub-panel, which is roughly $300,000. So what we would do is, if the board said, hey, we don't care about dehumidification, we just want to replace the units with the newest, best kind of ventilator, which would have better filtration and all that, then you don't have to do the electrical upgrade. If we dehumidify every single unit, we'd have to just look at that. There's some additional engineering to see, hey, are we going to get beyond our capacity or not? For the middle school, we just gave one option, which was to replace them all with dehumidification. That's what we're talking about when we use the letters DX there. That's about $1.6 million. Windows there, $225,000. Again, I'm including asbestos allowance there. So this could be really much closer to $150,000 at the middle school. And then we have an electrical system upgrade. And lastly, at Paul Smith, the gym unit is about $230,000. Then we have an option 2 or 3, which is again with or without air conditioning or dehumidification for either $400,000 or $500,000 because it's a smaller school. And then the electrical system upgrades as well. And so if you add up everything with the dehumidification, it's somewhere around $6,626,000 with a payment and performance bond, which is basically an insurance policy that should us or one of the contractors doing the work go out of business, it's a bond to come in and complete it. So the total of the projects we came up to with the bond is 6.6, almost 6.7 million. That being said, this is just meant for you guys to have some data to kind of prioritize, not expecting, that you'd spend every dollar on ESRA, but you may want to. We've seen boards go through 2 paths. One is to just look at all the needs with staff and tutoring and all that stuff, and see, how much can be allocated toward facilities. Another is to maybe pick projects, see what that totals up to, and just keeping in mind that these are order of magnitudes. It might be a bit more, it could be a bit less once the asbestos testing comes in and all that stuff. Any questions?
Is the system going to be using the same zones as far as the heating and,
Yep.
so that, all that ductwork is not going to be changed?
That's right. Yep.
Any other questions for Mike? Christy, do you have any questions for the presentation?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mike. As you know, we'll definitely look over this.
Thanks.
We'll have a meeting between the board and with Dan and Jefferson and whatnot. I mean, it's nice to know because I have been kind of reading up on the hoops that Somersworth and
Yeah.
some of the other school districts are going through right now for, to try to get this, but I know back in 2018, we, you know, was one of the discussions we had was the air handlers here and the HVAC system that is very outdated and things. So, I mean, this gives us a general idea. It's only going to benefit our students and staff by looking at some of these items and whatnot. So, I want to thank you for the time that you put into it. And obviously, we definitely will be back in touch as the ball rolling. I know, you know, with some of this stuff that we're going to look at, we're going to kind of have to get back to you at least by probably September.
Yeah, I think that's a good time.
Is that a good time?
Yeah, so if you factor in 6 months to kind of go through all the hoops.
Right.
And then our normal process is for you guys to give us focus areas, and then within a month or two, come back to you. So let's just say you want to do the windows at the high school. Let's just say that becomes your number one priority. Well, we just have an order of magnitude. What we would come back to you with is an actual design of what window we would like, and make sure it meets your approval and the city's approval. And so that's the same is true for any of those options. This is just sort of high level. Then we would come back to this board or a facilities committee and say, here's some more detail about this. Does this make sense? Before we go forward, and then obviously have to jump through all the hoops. I will tell you the entire federal delegation, both senators and both Congress people from New Hampshire, wrote a letter to the state and federal Department of Ed saying, stop obstructing these projects, get going. So hopefully that that'll make it go smoothly. So.
Yeah, because we're not having a meeting in July.
Okay.
There's a whole meeting in July. It's the thought for us.
Yep.
August meeting is August 20, well, hopefully going to be changed to August 24th.
Yeah.
So it would be sometime in mid-September
Yep.
that we could have, at least give you an idea of what we're looking at, so we
Sure.
can have this discussion as a board, and we can put it on the Finance Committee report, on the Finance Committee also, so, and if we need be, Mike, I mean, I'll have Dan reach out to you if we need to have you at the Finance Committee to kind of discuss things. Same routine we went through before, Mike, so.
Is Finance Committee join the city? Is that right?
We have our own, we do have a
Okay.
joint Finance Committee, but
Okay.
when it's a project like this, it would just be our Finance
Okay.
Committee. Yeah. Any other questions for Mike?
Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, so that's going to close agenda item 6 on our agenda. We're now going to move on to agenda item 7, which is the approval of our board meeting minutes from May 17th, 2021. Do I have a motion on that, please?
I make a motion to approve the board minutes from our last meeting.
Thank you, Christie. So motion's made by Christie to approve the board minutes for May 17th, 2021. I heard some second, and Maureen is seconded. Is there any discussion or corrections? Seeing none, if I could have a roll call vote on this, please.
Christie Martin. Tim Dow.
Yes.
That's not her mouth,
Yeah. Yes.
Carrier.
Yes.
Thanks, Mike. Yes.
Just so the rest of the board knows, I mean, on roll call vote, I have to do it still because Christie's on Zoom. So once we have all our members back here, then I don't have to do the roll call. We can just do it as a yes or no vote. But because I still have a board member on Zoom, I have to do it. So Christie, don't worry about it. I just want the public to know why we're still doing it. All right, we're gonna move on to agenda item 8, because that's, agenda item 7 is passed. Agenda item 8 is committee reports. So we'll start with Delaney.
And we had a Innovation and Improvement Committee meeting on June 10th. Fairly short agenda. We discussed the strategic planning updates and reopening plan for schools, which we will discuss under shared some support from a former business partner of mine on doing data analysis. I've asked administrators before, but I'll ask again, and any school board members, we're looking for a pool of questions that you all would like to have answers to. And these are going to be data-driven answers. We have some stuff in the strategic plan about using data to drive our processes. So we really need the questions. Anything you want to know, whether it has to do with finances, whether it has to do with student performance, whether it has to do with how Franklin schools do things compared to other schools around the state. We need the questions to drive the process. So if anything pops to mind, get in touch with Dan or myself, and we'll get it in the list, and hopefully we'll have some good discussions moving forward. Thank you.
Any questions for Delaney? Christy, do you want to talk a little bit on our scholarship meeting that we did?
Yeah, actually, I think it was a very successful meeting.
It was.
I saw lots of posts this past week on Facebook about, the kids that received the scholarships, and I saw one of the kids that received the scholarship this past weekend, and she was just over the moon excited that she received one. Actually, she received three, but one of the ones she received was from us. And yeah, I think it was a success. I'm really proud of what we've done.
No, Christy and I had the opportunity, we went through, there was 3 different scholarships that we picked, and it was a difficult choice. I mean, we had a lot of going back and forth, but I think it went very well. Very happy with the ones that were picked, and they all met the qualifications, and I agree with Christy, the fact that all of them were on Facebook, had their picture taken with Officer Tracy and Miller, and I know that they were very gracious about their scholarships they received. So the scholarship committee went well, and I believe we're going to talk about a little bit more scholarship tonight, Dan? All right, so, but it went well. The other meeting that I attended, but I'm going to let Deb talk about it. At the next meeting, we did have a finance meeting. Deb couldn't be here tonight due to, she's got another commitment at her other school district that she works for. And I know Jefferson's unable to make it tonight, so we're gonna skip over the financial report, and we'll have a double finance report at our next board meeting, when we have it, so. There was no policy this past month. We don't have policy again until September, Cecile, so we won't have that. So we didn't have any other committee meetings I can think of, right, Dan?
That's it.
All right, so we're gonna close the all business committee reports, agenda item 8. We're gonna move on to agenda item 9, which is our new business, which is our update from our superintendent.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a lot to talk about tonight. All good stuff. The end of the year is a fun time of year because a lot of our projects come to fruition. So the first one is the Portrait of a Graduate program. This has been going on for quite some time, over a year. And Carissa's with us tonight. And Carissa, I don't know if you wanted to come and say a few words, but we are ready to approve the portrait.
I just came to witness.
You just came to witness. So in the folder and in the packet is I use the word finalized, but it's never really finalized, but is the portrait for the board to approve. So, we can take questions on that if you have any questions. But we are ready for approval and to take this to the next level at this point.
All right, so we'll start out with a question. Does anybody have any questions on the packet that we received in our school board packet for Portrait of a Graduate? Go ahead, Cecile.
Well, I don't have a concern with the packet itself, as being a new person in Franklin. And who receives these portraits? And, are they given out to the kids, or are they given out to the community, or how does?
How are they distributed?
How
How are people going to see our Portrait of a Graduate?
Yeah, right.
Hopefully, you want to answer that?
Sure, so we have an action plan that we're working on, and that's part of the next steps. So how we'll
okay.
share with information. One way is on Saturday, we'll be tabling at Winnie River Days, Enrollment Day. So like that's just one opportunity, but we'll have printouts. We have different avenues to get the message out, so online, in print, and just conversations with folks in the community.
So is this going to be within 6 months or a year or?
It's really an ongoing project, so remember at the last meeting that we had, we did a little playing, there was an action plan. So next year is gonna be just a year of teachers and students playing around with the language and coming to understand it a little bit better and seeing what fits and doesn't. This language might not be the same as it is in a year. We might look at it and say, oh, we played around with it and this part doesn't work. So this is just sort of the first iteration of that.
Okay, thank you.
And the other things this year, what will happen is if we approve this portrait of a graduate tonight, it'll go on to our website here at the school. And then also Dan will send it to Audrey up in the city manager's office, and she'll post it on the city website. So it'll be on both websites if this plan is approved, so the public will be able to get it. Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, I will make the motion that we approve the portrait of a graduate as was presented in our school board packet. Second by Cecile. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, if I can have a roll call vote, please.
Christy Martin,
Yes.
Jim Dow,
Yes.
Delaney Perry,
Yes.
Maureen Opie. Yes. And Cecile Corner. Yes.
That motion passes and the portrait of a graduate is approved.
Okay, excellent. And Carissa, thank you so much for all
Thank you,
your leadership
Carissa.
and guidance. And Jewel, thank you so much for getting the ball rolling.
We know your work ain't done with it yet, so.
All right, next up is the strategic plans goal approval. So we've gone through a process where we have created new goals with the board. The I-2 committee took a look at this at their meeting last week. So there's 2 documents that for your review. One is the full strategic plan. Thank you to Carissa. She added the new goals into the original strategic plan and also added a column of how we had been doing on all of our goals, so it's all within the regular original document. And then we also have a strategic plan update listed. It says 2021, has the core value and the new goals, and it kind of ties the portrait and the strategic plan goals together, which I think is a wonderful thing, so that we can kind of get them out there together. So I am looking for the board to approve both of those documents tonight.
And just a reminder, these goals are the ones that we went over with Lynn. We added these new goals and strategic, so these are all ones that Lynn, we sat as a board and had the meeting for, so. Are there any questions on any of that information that was in our board packet? Go ahead, Delaney.
I have a comment in the full strategic plan on page 7 where we list the core values and goals. We have a couple of new goals that weren't added into this page, but they are further down in the more detailed area.
Yeah, Delaney, we're having a hard time hearing you up here.
On page 7 of the full strategic plan where we list the goals,
Yep.
we added goal 4 for back to it. For core value 2 and core value 3 both have goal 4 under them. That didn't get added to this
What's missing on page 7?
the outline page on page 7. Yeah,
Core 2, core value 2, and core value 3.
yeah, they should both have a goal 4.
Both have a goal 4. So we'll add that.
They're down below, though, so I'll add
Yeah,
that.
they are done.
They are there, they're just on the right spot.
Okay.
So
We
Carissa
will-
said she'll move
We
it.
will correct that.
Is there any other discussion, any other thing? Any questions, I should say, for Dan?
You might want to update the table of contents too. It's just for page numbering, I think, so.
And we can take care of that as well.
Is there anything else? All right. I'll make a motion that we approve the strategic planning goals with the corrections that have been brought forward this evening. Second by Maureen. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I have one more thing on the full one. Might want to have some kind of note on an update date, or state that updates were made, in June of 2021. All the introductory stuff, lists board members and steering committee and whatnot that were from the original group in 2018. And a lot of those people aren't here now, and a significant amount of the items in the plan have changed.
We will look at that as well.
All right, that's it.
All right, if I can have a roll call vote.
Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Jim Dow?
Yes.
Delaney Carter?
Yes.
Maureen Opie? Yes. Sue Cormier? Yes.
The motion passes. The strategic planning goals have been approved with corrections.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is universal best practices. So we were told back in May that we should be planning moving forward, looking at the universal best practices in terms of guidance for the COVID pandemic. So in your packet and in the folder was the universal best practices document, where it talks about some of the prevailing health guidance and things that we should be thinking about moving forward. And we've been discussing, not only through this document, but also through, our MOA with the teachers, our mask policies and our social distancing policies and our sanitation policies and whatnot. We've also included that in our plan, our fall reopening plan and our April 19th plan that we've talked about. So I wanted to share this document with the board. We did receive guidance from DHHS last Thursday after the heat wave that they were going to be updating their mask guidance on the hot weather in the summer. So we are anticipating getting that guidance. A little late based on the heat wave that we had, because we did struggle Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with the masks needing to be worn indoors, and the usage of fans being limited to exhausting air or bringing in hot air from the outside because of the guidance. We actually called DHHS on Tuesday morning to see if they would give us any guidance on fans and being able to use fans because it was so hot, and they were unable to give us any additional guidance. They were sticking with their recommendation. My guess is they were inundated with complaints and phone calls about the guidance that was received and the fact that the schools were open and the masks were on and it was hot, as most schools in New Hampshire are not air conditioned. So my sharing this with you is that the Universal Best Practices document is one that we should be looking at and following as we move forward. I'll talk a little bit more on the next item about a fall reopening plan and what I've talked with our administrators about in terms of preparing for the fall. But we have a summer school that we need to get ready for as well. So I am anticipating some updated indoor mask guidance. You may recall my email where there are no longer mask restrictions outside. So when we are outside, vaccinated or unvaccinated, there is no requirement at all to wear a mask outside. So we've been doing that ever since last Monday when that guidance came out to us. So the only time that masks are now being used would be on school buses and in school when we cannot maintain 6-foot distancing. And with the kids here, most of our classrooms, we still are less than 6-foot distancing, so we do have students and staff wearing masks when we can't maintain that distance. Like I said, I am expecting some updated guidance on that promised by DHHS to all of us. So that's the update on the universal best practices and what we're planning for. There's no action that needs to be taken. That was for informational purposes, and I can take any questions if you have any on that.
Does anybody have any questions for Dan on the universal best practices that have been sent by the board, to the board? Christie?
I have, more of a comment, not really a question.
Okay, go ahead, Christie.
It's been said, the CDC has said that, it is better off for children not to wear masks so frequently. And I'm wondering if there is going to be a time when we're going to be allowing our kids to take the masks off.
Well, I think in our MOA with our teaching staff, we go by DHHS and CDC. So we've been waiting for DHHS to provide us the guidance, Christie, on that. And they have not come out and told us that we can do that yet. Even in the hot weather, they haven't come out and told us. So they promised, not us specifically, but the state of New Hampshire, they promised some updated guidance with the hot weather that's been coming, especially with summer school coming. So we are anticipating getting that any day. But I would not recommend that we not follow the prevailing health guidance that's being provided by Department of Health and Human Services. I think that we should stick with following their guidance.
Do you foresee us having masks being removed by September for the children?
I actually foresee us probably not having masks this summer because I believe we'll be able to maintain 6-foot distancing for the most part, even if DHHS doesn't change their guidance at all. So right now, with the numbers that we have for summer school, I'm anticipating probably being able to do 6-foot distancing indoors for the most part, which would mean nobody would need to wear masks. But I'm also anticipating new guidance from DHHS that's going to even make the restrictions less than that. Because I can't imagine they would have promised us some guidance and not come out with something that's less restrictive, because everything's moving towards, there's lower numbers, there's lower transmission, things are looking really, really good. So we're just waiting for them to give us that guidance so we can implement it. Just like they gave us the guidance outdoors. They gave us the guidance outdoors and we implemented it right away. So I'm actually hopeful that before summer school starts, we'll have the new guidance from them.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Christie. Are there any other questions for Dan? All right, we'll move on.
As part of the ESSER 3 requirements, one of the requirements was to create a fall reopening plan for next fall. So you may be a little confused by this, and some of our community members and families might be as well, because we've been open since April 19th. But you have to remember, this is a federal plan, and it's to meet federal requirements, and a lot of schools across the country were not open like us. So in that plan that we wrote, and thank you to Jewel and the administrators for helping to put that plan together, we talked a lot about what we anticipate happening this fall. None of us can predict where we'll be at the end of August, but we certainly can plan for where we think we're going to be. So in our plan, I have directed the administrators to plan for as close to normal as possible. That is what we are anticipating getting ready for. We will always be able to pull back on that if we need to. But the way things are looking and the way things are going with the vaccines and the case numbers really dropping rapidly, that is the direction we've taken with our plan. We did put an addendum on the plan that showed the April 19th opening plan as well, so our families wouldn't be confused, because we had to share this plan with our families and staff to get input. So I have about 20 comments from the families from last Friday that have come into me, and I have comments from the staff as well, giving us some input into this plan. Most of the comments were supportive and positive. There are lots of questions still about, where will we be with mask usage and all that. And to be honest, none of us can really answer those questions until we get there. We will continue to see what the health guidance is that we receive, and we'll continue to see if we, nobody knows if we're going to have a spike in the fall or whatnot. So I've been telling everybody for 16 months that we've been going 1 week at a time here, and we continue to do this, but on this plan, we had to predict out a couple of months. So that's the plan that you have in front of you. What will happen is we will submit that to the Department of Ed by June 23rd, which is the deadline. And then that plan will get posted on our website, and we will have met the criteria for the ESSA 3 funds at this point. There's another plan due, a 90-day plan, I think is sometime in August. So that is something that July and the principals will be working on this summer. It'll probably be very similar to the one that you see, with updates, with the new health guidance and what we're hoping to do for fall. So I wanted to give you the background as to why we created a plan when we were already open. If you were wondering why are you creating a plan when you're already open, that's why we're creating a plan. It's a federal requirement. And with that, I'll ask for the board's approval of the plan.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we approve and accept the fall reopening plan as it was presented and given to us in our school board packet. Second by Christie. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, if I could have a roll call vote, please.
Christie Martin,
Yes.
Tim Dow,
Yes.
Delaney Curran,
Yes.
Mary Noe. Yes. Cecilia Cormier. Yes.
The motion passes. The fall reopening plan is approved.
All right, thank you. We will submit that to the DOE this week. Hey, next up is a memorandum of agreement extension with the Franklin Education Association. So the negotiating team met last week with the Franklin Education Association to extend the existing MOA that expires at the end of June. And at that point in time, we were all in agreement that we would extend the MOA. I am recommending that you approve this MOA today. There are still some small issues that need to be resolved, but I think they can be resolved and would request that you approve it as written.
Make a motion that we authorize Dan to sign the MOA.
For approval, you gotta put in.
For approval.
Thank you. Okay. So a motion's been made to allow the superintendent to sign off on the MOA for approval with, and this is for our Teachers Association. Just a little back history on it. The current one we have expires June 30th, and part of the agreement that we made and the teachers accepted to was that because of summer school, we needed to extend it. And based on the extension, we agreed that it would be extended till September 1st. So hopefully by September 1st, we'll have some more guidance, some more changes. So that's why we're coming forward with it tonight, okay? So the motion been made and approved, or seconded by Maureen. Any other further discussion? Okay, seeing none, if I could have a roll call vote, please.
Christie Martin,
Yes.
Tim Dow,
Yes.
Delaney Curran,
Yes.
Mary Noe. Yes. Cecilia Cormier.
Yes.
The motion passes. The memorandum of agreement with the teachers union is extended and approved.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, I need board approval for a couple of technology purchases for the fall. We need to purchase 10 computers for our new manufacturing CAD program class, SolidWorks. We anticipate that being about $15,000. So that's one purchase I need the board to approve. And then we also have a new computer, sorry, it's actually with the software, it's $18,500. And then the second part is our new computer teacher at the high school. We're thrilled to have that back. And we need to outfit a lab, so we are looking to spend up to $20,000 to outfit a computer lab here at the high school. So if I can get approval for those two expenditures, that would be wonderful.
Move to approve the technology purchases as presented.
Okay, the motion's been made to approve the technology purchases as is presented. The presentation is for 10 computers for the CAD program at $15,000 plus an additional money needed for software and licensing. So the total cost for the CAD program and 10 computers is $18,500. And also to approve $20,000 for a computer lab. Motion's been made by Delaney. Do I have a second? Second by Cecile. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, you have, describe where the funds be coming from, budget-wise?
Yes, The $18,500 computer and technology expenditure will come from the district budget, and the computer lab purchase will come from the ESSER funds, I think the Sr2 funds. Yep.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, if I could have a roll call vote, please.
Christie Martin,
Yes.
Tim Dow,
Yes.
Delaney Carter,
Yes.
Maureen Opie. Yes. Cecilia Cormier.
Yes.
That motion is passed and the technology purchase is approved.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, as Carissa was saying, Winnie River Day is coming up on June 19th, it's Saturday. We were invited by one of the city councilors, Jay Chandler. He came to meet with me and actually invited us to participate as a district. I will be out of town that weekend, but we do have a third table available. Carissa will be at one table, and our Office of School Wellness will be at one. One of the ideas is to potentially have school board reps sell our raffle tickets for our scholarship program. That's a fundraiser that we usually do. We haven't had to fundraise in a while because of COVID. But I wanted to ask the board if anybody was available on Saturday the 19th to maybe man a table at Winnie River Day so that they could sell raffle tickets for raising funds for the scholarship committee. So if that's something that anybody's interested in doing once they check their schedules and whatnot, please send me an email and let me know. And if we can do that, great, and if not, that's okay too, we'll find another way to do it. Just
It goes from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we actually, I'm not sure why, because I know that Carissa ordered 3, but we actually have 2.
Really?
Yeah, so we have the Office of School Wellness in the school district.
Ours is double big.
That's true, so,
We have 3 spaces.
okay, so it's 3 spaces.
Right.
It's just 2 big tables, so.
So if there
Oh,
is,
yes,
if there is interest by any board members to come down and check out Winnie River Day and perhaps sell some raffle tickets to
We're right
raise
across
some-
from the donut shop,
That would be great.
if that helps.
And for those members. No, they're on vacation.
Jeez Louise.
We'll send it out to the other board. I know, unfortunately, I'm not gonna be, because I'm gonna be in Maine, with my son and daughter-in-law that weekend, or this coming weekend, so, I know Dan, when he asked me and the dates and everything, I know I'm not gonna be around, but for anybody else who is, and I'll ask Dan to send out an email to the board members that aren't here tonight,
Yep.
to see if any of them would be willing to participate.
So yeah, like I said, just let me know and we'll get you signed up. Okay, NHSBA resolutions. Wanted to talk very briefly if there were any topics of interest that the board may want to think about drafting a resolution to the New Hampshire School Boards Association. That would be due to them at the October delegate assembly.
There's actually a cutoff date for it.
Yeah, I think the cutoff date is coming up in
It is.
July, right?
Yes. Because we have to come back with any resolutions for board approval.
Right. So if there are any items of interest you want to let me know, that would be great. July and August school board meeting dates. So we have a bid out there for the middle school entryway project, as you know, and we have a deadline of Friday the 18th where we expect to receive and hope to receive some bids back. We have talked to 3 companies already who have all told us they were too busy to put a bid in for this project. We have originally and still will have a tentatively scheduled school board meeting on July 1st for this purpose. But if we do not receive any bids on Friday this week, we will postpone that meeting. There'll be no reason for us to get together. So I will let you know Friday by the end of the day if we've received any bids and whether or not the board will have to come together on July 1st. Other than that, I'm going to ask that our August meeting, that would typically be the 3rd Monday in August, which would be the 16th, I'm going to ask that we move that to the 23rd because we have some vacation issues we're trying to work around. So the 23rd would actually be the 4th Monday of the month. School does not start until after Labor Day, and staff does not come back till the end of August, so there's no real need, there's no real issue with moving that back a week. Just making sure that people are aware of that. And I know it'll be painful for all of you not to meet with all of us until August 23rd, after tonight. But if that sounds okay to everybody, that's the move we'll make. I don't know that we need board approval for
You
that,
don't.
Tim, right?
No,
Yeah.
you don't. The only thing we have to do is just post it on our website,
Oh, yeah.
and ask the city to post it on theirs.
Yeah. We'll get that out.
Of the moving, the date moved.
Okay, and then tonight I have 5 resignations. Bruce Blau, special education teacher at the middle school. Deb Dustin, special education teacher at the middle school. Kate Evans, classroom teacher at the middle school. Shannon Talbot, classroom teacher at the middle school. And Sophie Carter, special education teacher at Paul Smith School.
I'll make the motion to accept the resignations as was presented by the superintendent with regret.
Second motion.
Second by Cecile. Is there any discussion?
Just a comment that we thank them, especially this year.
Yes.
All their hard work.
Thank you, Cecile. Anything further? All right, if I can have a roll call vote, please.
Christie Martin,
Yes.
Tim Dow,
Yes.
Delaney Courier,
Yes.
Cecilia Cormier, Maureen Oakley. Yes.
The motion is accepted and the resignations are accepted with regret and thanks to these teachers that have given their time to the Franklin School District.
I have 12 nominations for you tonight. Looking for approval. Alex Kendall, Library Media Specialist, Franklin High School. Rebecca Keene, Guidance Counselor at Paul Smith School. Mackenzie Nixon, Grade 3 teacher, Paul Smith School. Cynthia Joyce, Art teacher, Paul Smith School. Kelly Neal, Classroom teacher, Franklin Middle School. Joyce Burney, Special Education teacher, Franklin Middle School. Dawn Belanger, Special Education teacher, Franklin Middle School. Joanna Marcotte, computer teacher, Franklin High School. David Cole, Tech Integrator, District. Kate Susi, kindergarten, grade 1 teacher, Paul Smith School. Justin Avery, classroom teacher, Franklin Middle School. And Cameron Harrison, classroom teacher, Franklin Middle School.
I'll make the motion that we accept the nominations as been presented to us this evening by Superintendent Legalo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cecile. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, if I could have a roll call vote.
Christie Martin,
Yes.
Tim Dow,
Yes.
Delaney Courier,
Yes.
Maureen Oakley. Yes. Cecilia Cormier.
That motion passes and the nominations are accepted.
Okay. And then the last thing, I just wanted to update you on our assistant principal search. We have actually selected 2 candidates and both have declined offers. So I will be meeting with Sue midweek when she's back on Wednesday to talk about the next steps in the process of trying to find someone. I guess what I wanted to bring up to the board is that if and when we do find the appropriate candidate, we will need to probably have the board come together so we can approve that candidate and get that candidate started. So I don't know how we want to handle that, because I don't know what the time frame will be before we find another candidate that I will bring to you. So I don't know how you want to handle that.
I would say once you have a nomination to bring forward, and then we can either do it by email, or we can do a quick meeting for an introduction of who your nomination is, which I'd probably go with that better. We'll just have to have a quick meeting for an introduction and to accept your nomination.
Okay. So it might be that once we find a suitable candidate, that we're gonna call the board together this summer to approve that candidate, just so you're prepared. And that is all I have tonight.
Do you, on your special education request?
Yes.
You want an approval on that too?
We are still short 2 special education teachers. So we met with the special education teams at the middle school and the elementary school and talked with the teachers, and they suggested to us that we hire a special education secretary in lieu of 1 teacher to take the paperwork burden off of our teachers so that they can spend more time with the kids. It actually is a more cost-effective way of handling the situation. It would be easier to hire a secretary than it is to hire a special education teacher right now. So I'm looking for the board to approve me to hire a special education secretary in lieu of a special education teacher to work 20 hours at the elementary school and 20 hours at the middle school for next year.
Can you just give them a brief description, Dan, on what they'll do to kind of take some of the work off your
Sure.
teachers?
Special education teachers have lots of clerical work that they need to do, lots of copying, lots of paperwork, lots of phone calls. So this person would be able to take that burden off of the special education teachers, free them up from having to do that sort of work so that they can take on a larger caseload of students. So instead of hiring another special education teacher to reduce the caseload numbers, if we hire the secretary, the caseload numbers can remain a little bit larger and the kids will be serviced as well, because the special education secretary will take on that paperwork and clerical role for them. Like I said, the idea actually came from the teachers to us, so we fully support it. Rebecca had some good meetings, and Sue and Ken had some good meetings with them, so I think this is a good approach to go, especially in light of the fact that there is a shortage of special education teachers right now in the state, so this is another, a next best alternative.
So I'll make the motion to allow the superintendent to hire a special education secretary in place of 1 special education teacher for the following school year.
I second that.
Second by Christie. Thank you, Christie. Do we have any discussion? Go ahead, Maureen.
Any particular specific skills that a sped secretary would have to have as compared to?
Prior secretarial skills would be helpful, but not necessarily in special education would be necessary. It'd be helpful if we could find someone like that, but I think just someone with a good secretarial or office experience would be very helpful, and we would be able to train them. Yeah. You know somebody, Maureen?
All right, is there any other questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, if I could have a roll call vote.
Christy Martin,
Yes.
Tim Dow,
Yes.
Delaney Courier,
Yes.
Maureen Opie,
Yes.
Cecile Palmieri.
Yes.
The motion passes, and the superintendent is authorized to hire a special education secretary in place of a special education teacher. Do you want to can you just give an update, Dan, on where you stand on the hiring process of what you have left?
Yes, I can. So at the high school, we are still searching for our extended learning opportunities coordinator. That's the new position that we added in the budget this year. We are looking for a guidance secretary, and we are looking for our alternative program paraprofessional. That was also a new position that we added in the budget this year. At the elementary school, we are just looking for the assistant principal that we talked about. At the middle school, we're looking for a Title I teacher, 1 more classroom teacher, a library aide to run the library, an in-school suspension support staff member that we chose not to hire this year because of the hybrid and feeling like we didn't need it. And then, I guess we can talk about this now. We've had posted for us for a while a wood shop position with no candidates. So I talked with Ken, and I'm not confident we're gonna find a wood shop teacher. Yeah, unfortunately, he has his own job already. That was just a hobby. That was just a hobby. So I'm actually thinking that you know, that maybe we should change this to like a health position that we used to have instead of a wood shop position, because we had cut health a whiles back. The health, yeah, health teacher, I'm sorry, a health teacher. So I mean, we can talk about that a little bit more later, but part of me is thinking that we might want to make that move because we've had no applicants for wood shop. So that was the conversation that we had the other day, so I think I talked with finance about this a little bit.
You did.
So.
And with our current woodshop teacher,
Yeah, you can't talk.
right, but I'm just saying, we're not sure.
Yeah, you can't.
Okay. And we're not, you don't foresee us getting one.
I don't, because like I said, it's been posted for a couple of months now.
And health would help you out, Ken?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's certainly not our first choice, but at the same time, it is an area that we do need help for our kids. And the health is more comprehensive, so it's more than that. It would be some, family consumer science, some budgeting, and an awful lot about having students understand how to take control of it. There's an awful lot that would be involved in it. And yes, our kids would definitely benefit from it.
Okay. And I'll make the motion that we authorize the superintendent to hire a health teacher in place of a woodshop teacher at the Franklin Middle School. Second by Cecile. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Do you foresee this as being a temporary measure, or would just a permanent replacement, permanent swap for that?
Well, I mean, I think it's as permanent as anything is permanent, in terms of what we reevaluate every year.
Yeah.
In terms of funding and in terms of, what we offer and what we want to be able to offer. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we cut it back in the middle of the budget crisis a few years ago. We had a wonderful health program up until then. So reviving our health program is definitely a good thing for us to be doing at this point. It wasn't our first choice because we wanted to try and bring the shop back for the kids, but you can't bring something back if you have nobody that will instruct it. So, I guess what I'll say is as permanent as anything is permanent, Delaney, in terms of our evaluation of programming every year.
Cecile?
Are you replacing someone? I mean, is there at present a health educator now?
So we cut the program a few years ago,
Ah.
so we're gonna bring it back. Yeah. Yep.
Christie?
I'm wondering, what are the requirements we've already put out there for the wood shop teacher? Are we requiring them to have a teaching certificate, or are we requiring them to have like 20 years in wood shop, or?
Honestly, Christy, we would be as flexible with this person as we could be. All they need is a letter of eligibility from the DOE, and because it's a critical shortage area, it's not that hard to get a letter of eligibility.
Right. And then another question is, so this health teacher, is this health teacher also going to be a Hvac teacher? Will they be teaching cooking and,
No, not in my mind, they wouldn't. It would be strictly a health teacher.
Would that include nutrition?
Yeah.
Yeah, nutrition, yeah, but it wouldn't be cooking, though.
Yeah.
No, not cooking.
They partner very, very closely with both our current PE teacher and especially our guidance staff to talk to about some of the issues that if the guidance could get into the classrooms, they would. So there'll be certain parts of the guidance curriculum that will be part of that also.
There isn't a Hvac teacher right now at the middle school, is there?
No.
I'm just wondering if that might be something to look at too, making that part of it, because I think it's really important that the kids are learning those skills of being in a kitchen. I know that they'll be learning it in the high school, but there's a lot of kids that are in middle school that are at home by themselves,
Not all.
after school, and I'm just thinking that it could benefit them as far as that too.
Yeah, she's right, and actually not all the high school kids would, because they don't all have to take Judy's classes here, it's optional, so if they don't get it at the middle school, there's,
I think it's really important that our kids are learning functional skills for when they are no longer in school. And some of these kids aren't getting that at home. I mean, my kids get it at home. I'm sure your kids get it at home, but there's a lot of children in our school district that don't have that structure at home where they're learning, like, what's a half of a cup of flour, or what's a 3/4 of a cup of sugar. You know, that's very important actually for them to know when they're no longer in school, when they're out on their own.
Yeah, and I don't disagree at all, Christie. It's very hard to find those people as well. That's the only problem too. So I'm not opposed to looking for that, but it's almost the same thing as finding a woodshop teacher that we found. It doesn't mean we couldn't look though.
Could we possibly include the health science teacher to be a home economics teacher as well?
I think trying to find someone with that skill set is going to be very difficult.
So when we're looking for a health teacher, are we looking for somebody that has a teaching certificate, or are we looking for somebody that's a phys ed teacher, has a health science background? What are we looking for?
A health teacher would have a health certification. It's a DOE certified position.
So it could be like somebody that's an LNA and then they get their DOE certification as well.
I don't think it would be an LNA. It's an actual health teaching certificate that you receive.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? All right, so we just need a vote on the motion.
Christie Martin?
I didn't hear that. Did you say something?
Yeah, we're taking a vote on the motion. The motion was to have the health teacher, it's been seconded, and discussion's been made, so now we're taking the roll call vote.
Okay. I have no answer at this point.
So you want to abstain?
I'm abstaining.
Okay,
Tim Dow?
yes.
Delaney Carter?
Yes.
Cecile Carter? Yes. Maureen Opie? Yes.
Okay. Motion passes, 4 yeses, 1 abstention. Now, Christie, I'm going to help you out a little bit, just to let you know that, you have a right to bring a motion too. If you want the superintendent to research something, by all means, if you want him to research, to look at a Hvac teacher and bring it back before the board, you have every right to make that motion. So if you'd like to make that motion tonight, you're more than welcome to. We can't say we're gonna hire one, but you could have him research for one and see if we could find one and see what the cost would be to the district.
I think that that's something that I'd like to look at, but my concern is because there's not a lot of people out there that finish college, and I'm just putting that out there. I mean, I respect every one of you that have gone through college, that have gotten your master's degree, but a lot of times in life, people have plan B, and they don't get that opportunity that some of us, the other ones get. But they still have these skills that we're looking for, and I worry that people that have these skills get overlooked just because they don't have those higher degrees.
Well, what happens too, Christie, is a lot of times is that you have to be certified in these categories, okay, and you have to have that certification through the DOE, okay, or a letter of eligibility for it. Unfortunately, I know what you're saying, because someone could be has cooked for many years in a restaurant, let's say, but doesn't have, you know, a culinary arts degree. You know, and that does restrain every school district, you know? And I don't know what the requirements are for a Hvac teacher, maybe the superintendent does, is there?
Oh, they need a degree.
They need a
Yeah,
degree,
they need
so,
a degree.
you know, it does put the constraints on us because we have to follow the NHDOE rules when we're hiring the teachers.
Right. And as much as I do respect that, and I'm sure, I know that there's lots of reasoning behind this, I think this is part of the reason why we're having trouble finding certain people to fit certain roles.
Right.
And it's just because they don't have the opportunities that some of us already have, and they don't know how to move forward in those opportunities.
Right.
So, I'm still gonna abstain from the last vote, and I'm not going to put a motion forward.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know that you have the ability and the right to make one if you ever want to.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Christie. All right, so you're all set, Dan?
I'm all set.
All right, so superintendent report is done. We're gonna move on to agenda item 10, which is our curriculum report. Does anybody need a break? Just kidding, Joe.
I'm just waiting for
I
you.
was waiting for it. Everybody should have received your reports already, okay? So we'll try to get through these, because we still got some items to go through, and we still have a non-public at the end tonight, okay? So we'll start with the curriculum report with Jewel, if you want to just touch on a few things, Jewel.
Yep, so all the updates are in there, all the communication updates. I think everything else that I would have to share is in there. I did include information on the Nhsba Challenge, which is through the New Hampshire Institute for Civics Education, and they reached out to us. We're gonna be doing some work with them. They wanted to partner with some schools to strengthen the civics programs. So we have one teacher at the middle school and one at the high school that are working with them and getting all sorts of free training and PD over the summer. And then we'll hopefully bring that curriculum back since civics is becoming such a bigger part of state requirements. So I put some information in there, but people can certainly reach out to me if they have more questions. The only other piece, and I didn't put it in my packet, but I realized that we met May 17th. So the kids' production of Sweeney Todd happened after our last board meeting. So I just wanted to celebrate their success. I mean, we had 31 kids, grades 8 through 12 in that production, and it was a musical, which on the latter end of COVID is a huge stress, but also massive success on their part. It wasn't exactly how we would have loved it to have been, but we made the best out of every moment we could capture. And they had 4 shows and sold 381 tickets, so they had a lot of people come through and support them. And there were 10 adult volunteers that helped me immensely that I want to recognize too. And I think the kids were so excited. We had 21 of those teenagers that have now rolled into summer employment with the Franklin Area Children's Theater. So they just keep going right from one to the other. And there's about 20 of them in the community theater production this summer too. So they just keep rolling. We started that show the Tuesday after Sweeney Todd ended. So that's that.
Any questions for Jewel? If you didn't get to go see it, Jewel, is like you were reading my mind, 'cause I was thinking about the play as you're talking about this, and I was, for recognition, I didn't think about it, but.
I forgot that we had I thought we already had a board meeting.
And I did have the opportunity, it was a great play, so, I know the kids were very happy to be back, so, thank you, Jewel.
Yeah, they were.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to our special education report. Rebecca's with us this evening. Hi, Rebecca. So we'll just have touch base on a couple of things, and then if the board has any questions for you.
Okay, I think the biggest thing on my radar right now, of course, is ESY. We're finalizing staff placements now, finalizing student attendance and transportation. So it will be busy, I would say, for the next couple of weeks. We've actually had a couple of our more involved kiddos go to the middle school, even though they would typically stay at PSS, and that helps with numbers a little bit, but also allows students to get familiar with their new setting for next school year. A lot of my work This month has been honoring DOE timelines, things that they're looking for. I feel like it never ends, just when I wrap one up. But I wanted to get it in early, which I did, so that way I can make corrections if there will be any. And that is detailed in the report. That was a big thing. Again, this summer, I'm really excited to work with administrators. We have several on board to really get a district-wide intervention process in place, a well-documented one. So I'm excited about that. And then the other piece I'm excited about is to develop a strong case manager training for when staff come back those first few days and focus with a few staff that I think need a little bit more work and get them ready prior to the school year beginning. That's it.
Any questions for Rebecca? Great, thank you, Rebecca. The Paul Smith principal report, you've all read it. Sue is unable to be here tonight, so if anybody does have any questions, just reach out to Dan, and Dan will forward them to Sue. So we'll move on to the middle school with Ken.
If I can find my phone.
Do you want to use mine?
Oh, even better. Just want to make sure I'm on camera. Thank you. I continue to add enrollment analysis. It really is kind of fascinating to see how our enrollment stays the same, but it changes virtually monthly. We continue to have students come and go. I'm looking forward to the next report when I can not report any of our students who are fully remote. So it'll look a lot smaller, hopefully, the next time around when we have our report for the fall. And looking at our enrollment, we'll probably compare our enrollment in the fall to our exiting enrollment in the spring. And it's been a great year doing that. Enrollment analysis. I talked about some of the things that are going on. The statewide assessment has been completed. I am very delighted to tell you that over 95% of our students participated, and as you can see, I was the one who unburdened the staff with fully remote testing, because you can do that in one room because the kids are all home, and the kids are in one room. So we were able to get those done, and it was wonderful to have students come on Zoom with their parents helping them out, and then they literally had to go away and to go to a different program in order to be able to do that on the computers, and we got them done. So we administered 134 tests. I want to recognize our school counselors and Mr. Trafton, and I actually went myself, but they organized visits to the elementary school to go and see our third graders who will be next year's fourth graders. So they made 3 separate trips to the classrooms to visit with the kids, and I had the opportunity to go visit with them and say hello, introduce myself, and Jay actually went over twice. Please go to Facebook and see the pictures of our Class Day parade. There's literally like 100 pictures, and it really is something. I want to recognize Robbie LaFlamme, who was standing there with his great camera, and he took a whole bunch of pictures, so we got those online, and an awful lot of contributed by staff and some other parents, and we had great folks on the sidelines cheering us on. It was wonderful to see how many parents could show up, and community members. There were people who just came out of their houses and gave us a wave. We are filling positions as they were reported. Thank you for approving them. Our partnership with PSU and the TREE program, the Teacher Residency Program for Rural Education, continues to be very successful. 2 of the young men who were hired are TREE people, so they were recommended by UNH. Our partnership is the same one. It's got Dale McGuire from last year, and we're going to continue that as they have moved over from UNH to PSU for this year, and they'll be partnering with us, with the high school, and with the elementary school to help us continue to get excellent graduates, and also some amazing professional development from them, all free and all amazing for that. Our grade 8 celebration, I'll get those up on Facebook tomorrow. I was still gathering pictures. Franklin Fire gave us their cookout, and wait till you see, once you see the pictures of Miss Nielsen, though all of us got soaked, but literally Miss Nielsen sitting under the balloon and seeing the balloon pop and soak her over in the reverse dunking booth. and it was really quite the thing to see, and definitely that's coming back. The grade 8 graduation is coming up, and then lastly, it didn't make it to this report, but on Thursday night, Jay and I and the school counselors and a couple of teachers will be on Zoom and also on YouTube out of our library, broadcasting to our incoming fourth grade parents to have a Q&A period. So if anybody has any questions for us or they'd like to talk to us about the school, although we can't have them visit, we're going to at least invite them in virtually to talk to us about things, and we're going to extend an invitation to any of our parents and the students. And so those of you who are watching tonight, any of our incoming parents and students, if you want to come and see the school, give us a call, set up an appointment, we'll get you a tour, we'll talk to you about the school. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And thank you all for a really wonderful year.
Thank you, Ken. Any questions for Ken? Oh, we have Jay. Jay's back there. He's misbehaved tonight, so he's made to sit at a table by himself.
He's in person.
So
He's here in person.
Jay's in person with us finally, so I get to harass him in person instead of online.
Thanks for the encouragement.
There you go.
Did you have something you want to say?
I think Ken wants you to come up front for your disciplinary report.
I don't think I can dance in front of the camera like you.
Here he comes.
All right, wait, no, there we go. Tim, you can hold your tongue there, thank you. So yeah.
Can you mute our mics while this is going on, please? Thank you.
I want to echo some of what Ken said already, thanking the guidance staff and Ms. Baca for really kind of driving last week's 8th grade celebration and parade. They did a great job organizing it, and I think it really worked well. My visits to elementary school, really enjoyed that. I think it's an important thing for the kids down there to see an assistant principal. They're not used to seeing that role, not seeing as a big scary discipline guy, but as someone who's in there, having fun with them as well. On the other end of it, of course, the discipline. This month, we're growing in incidents, but it's still not horrendous, not like we've seen in the past. Total of 39 incidents, and that's including majors and minors, so it's actually a lot lower when we used to look at hundreds between school board meetings. We had a total of 8 majors out of the 39 incidents, so that was pretty good. Topping our charts this past month, disrespect. We did have some new vaping incidents that we haven't had in a while, and physical contacts. We're kind of back to the middle school fun. All of our incidents resulted in approximately 13 days of in-school suspension, 2 days of out-of-school suspension, and then 2 incidents that resulted in some bus suspension. I will say, I know you guys heard that our in-school suspension position is still open. I plead for that, please, because as those 13 days of in-school suspension, they kind of prohibit me from doing my job because they're sitting with me one-on-one, which isn't fun for them, but it definitely kind of slows my role down. I can't really get to the things I need to get to when I'm monitoring all the kids in my little office. So yes, please, find that position, it'd be great. Other than that, I've got nothing else unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Jay? Thanks, Jay.
All right, Tim, live up to it, let's go.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. Tim's got a few minutes to think about
I got
this.
to harass him.
I'll get you from there.
We're gonna move on to the high school report with Principal Charette.
I'll just talk really loud. Okay, I did not forget the theater group, and I did not forget Jewel, so I mentioned Sweeney, Todd. We went as a large group of staff members to the show on Friday night, and the kids did an amazing job. RJ was one of the leads, and it was like so wonderful to see him in that role. It was a dark role. It was just different for the kids. They did an amazing job. Our sophomore sunrise was a great success. We had quite a few kids that actually met us for the sunrise that morning. But I do want to talk about our Golden Grad celebration that we had on our football field. It was wonderful. We had, Tim was there and Dan was there, and all the teachers were setting up tables and chairs, and the families came and the kids were served by staff members, and it was so well received that they want to make it a new tradition. And it was just a wonderful evening. The weather was nice, and it was so nice to celebrate with the kids and their families. Prom was amazing. It went off very, very well, and RJ Soboleski and Alyssa Cornell pretty much ran that show. I like to tease about it, but they organized it. And there was just wonderful attitudes from all the students, because the seniors actually paid for that entire event out of senior class money. So it was a gift for the juniors and any of the guests that were there, so it was really, really nice. And a couple of the juniors were like, we should have our prom here next year too, outside, and I was like, so it's just, it's just beautiful out there in the back of the campus, so I'm glad they were utilizing it. And I just wanted to say, I'm very appreciative to Dan Clark and our custodial staff for really helping us for a prom and for Golden Grad. I mean, moving 20 tables and a whole bunch of chairs, outside, takes a lot. And so our teachers and Westfall and even the superintendent, everybody was out there moving chairs, so it was very successful. We have a lot of things coming up this week. We've got marching practice and our class day parade and graduation, and so I'm looking forward to all the events.
Carrie, any questions for Carrie? And last of the report is Tim. He's had an opportunity to sit there and kind of wonder. Welcome, Tim. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Jay. You're sitting at the little kids' table, so don't worry, I'll do it next time.
At least he's here.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Feel the burn?
You won't get one, I promise. So I just want to let everyone know that we're really focused on ending the year on a positive note. We have the underclassmen awards and the school parade on Wednesday. We're really excited about those events upcoming this week. Like Jay, we have been dealing with some major and some minor behavioral challenges here recently. With everyone back in the building, not to be unexpected. We are continuing to, again, encourage students to make good choices both in and out of the classroom and be kind, caring, and respectful at all times of all people here in our community. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. Any questions for Tim? All right. Excellent. Thank you, Tim. All right. That's going to close agenda item 10. We're going to move on to agenda item 11, which is our policy time. And the only thing we have for policy tonight is our second reading and approval. Before we get to it, some of the administrators will be leaving. This will be I just want to thank the administration, the principals, everybody that comes to our school board meetings every single month. It's been a very challenging year, but this administrative team has once again raised up to the challenges, as I've seen over the many years that I've been on the school board. We probably will not see each other. I'll see some of you again because I'll be at different events. But again, we won't be here as a meeting again until August 23rd. So enjoy your summer. Know that the board very much appreciates everything that you do on a daily basis and what you do for our students on a daily basis and the participation and the fun that we have here at the school board meeting. I see a lot more school board meetings where there isn't a lot of laughing and back and forth and entertaining, and I think that's kind of nice when we can relax and be a personable board, because a lot of times it doesn't happen. So on behalf of the school board and myself as chair of the school board, I want to thank you as administrators for what you do every single day for this district, this students, and in this city. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your support over the last year.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Christy.
All right, so we're going to go to our second reading. This is second reading and approval. Everybody should have had more than enough opportunity to read over this for second reading and approval. So it's policy CFB, which is our building principal evaluation. Policy CHCA, which is the approval of handbook and directives. Policy EEAEC, which is our student conduct on school buses. Policy EEAG, use of private vehicles to transport students. Policy EF, which is our food service management. Policy GBEA, student ethics. Policy GBEBA, staff dress code. And policy GBEBB, student or employee-student relations. This is for second reading and approval. And I'm looking for a motion on.
Make a motion that we approve all the policies that have just been read.
Is this Motion made by Cecile to accept the motion, all policies as was just read for second reading and approval. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Maureen. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, if I could have a roll call vote.
Christie Martin.
Yes.
Tim Dow.
Yes.
Delaney Carter.
Yes.
Cecile Coleman.
Yes.
Maureen Oakley. Yes.
Those policies for second reading and approval are approved and accepted. Agenda item 12, a late item. Superintendent, do you have any late items you'd like to bring forward? Is there anybody else within the school board who would like to bring any late items forward? Okay, seeing none, I will close that portion of my meeting. Next is public, agenda item 13, which is public participation. We still have no public within this cafeteria at the Franklin High School. Is there any emails that you received, Dan?
We're good.
There are no emails that have been sent to the superintendent for this meeting, so I will close the public participation, second public participation of this meeting. We do have a need for a non-public under personnel tonight, so I'll make a motion that we go into non-public under 91A, 3, and it will be under A. Do I have a second? Second by Delaney. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Christie Martin.
Yes.
Tim Dow.
Yes.
Delaney Carter.
Yes.
Cecile Coleman. Yes. Maureen Oakley. Yes.
At 7:43, we are in non-public.
Do you want me
I need you to
start any portion, or?
I need you to step out for this part, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have to shut off this too.
Yeah, you're gonna shut off the YouTube?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want me to come back, or?
No, you should be fine to go.
So we are
Do you mind
closing
just
out
taking the minutes on this?
our streaming portion for non-public.
Yes.